Okay, so on this part, I want to continue on with this story. If you have a student who is leaning back in their chair, and that's clearly against the rules, they know that that would mean a reprimand. Rather than saying, "You're leaning back in your chair, you're going to miss 5 minutes of recess now," that's not necessarily how you want to deliver that. What I would recommend is saying, "Oh no, you broke rule number 2, be safe. Now I have to take away 5 minutes of your recess." If you do it that way, it's I'm on your side, but I've got to follow these rules. Okay? And that goes over so much better than just, "How dare you lean back? We just talked about it." My other suggestion is after you say, "Oh no, you broke rule number 2. Now you're going to need to stay in recess." It also sends the signal to the rest of the class that you are going to stick to those rules, and they will be more likely to follow those rules themselves because of that example. All right. The other part is as you are giving that consequence to your student, right after that, I promise this is wonderful if you can do it. Then just snap right out of it, whatever it was that maybe could have been a negative situation. Because sometimes teachers get a little bit unfriendly after someone has done something like talking out or leaning back or whatever it is. I dare you not to do that. I dare you to be friendly right after you give a reprimand. Like, "Okay, where were we? Let's get back to that math problem." Let me tell you, this is so important because your students will get the message that you didn't like the behavior, but you like them. It's going to tell the class that you're not going to hold it against all of them that somebody was acting up. You are going to get right back to what you were doing. And it is a great tip. All right, next we have procedures. Procedures are so important. We've talked about prioritizing the order that you would have your procedures. We want in our videos, we want to think about what needs to be taught first. We want them to know where to line up after recess before they have recess. So prioritize your procedures, and this is where you really need to think through every little detail. Spell it out. The more detail you give, the better. If you want to be that teacher who is known for having that quiet class walking down the hall and great classroom management, I can tell you one of the secrets is the more detail, the better. The thing to do with your procedures is you practice, you show them what to do. You physically, with your own body, show them what to do. With that, show them what to do, then show them a non-example. Show them what not to do, and tell why this isn't going to cut it, and then show them what to do again. And the more particular you are, the better. Okay, when it comes to those procedures, you want to give every little detail about what to do and where to stand and how to do it, all of that. So this gives you a chance to take a procedure and think through what you would tell your students when you teach them that procedure for the first time. Of course, you'll be saying these steps over and over. I'm going to have you choose 7. You can take them from the list that I've provided, or you can come up with procedures of your own on topics that I haven't listed. I'm sure there are plenty that aren't listed, but this will be a lifesaver for you to think about thinking through your procedures. Again, look for more about this in the videos. Oh, the classroom design is a part that the students have really enjoyed working on. And this is because they get to have their own little pretend classroom. This is where you have your seating chart. You'll have your teacher desk if you'd like to have a desk. I hope if you have a desk that you're not sitting much when your students are in the room. I hope you're meandering around the classroom and having good proximity even while they're working. But you'll also have things like a classroom library, an assignment board. You need a place to turn in papers. Maybe you'll have that kidney-shaped table in your room to have small group instruction and guided reading. These are the kinds of things you need. Even something as simple as having a clock where you can see it while you're teaching. It's a good idea. While you're teaching, it's nice to be able to look up really quickly and notice if you are getting close to lunchtime or one of your specials, so you know about how much time you have to wrap up a lesson. And so I recommend having that clock where you can see it easily from where you're teaching. And then anything else you'd like to add to your room. You can sketch this out. There are also really great apps online where you can create your own classroom. I have had students who have a very basic design that they sketch out and they take a picture and upload, and it has everything I've asked for. And I've had students who have gone to town. This is almost like Webkins all over again because the classroom design is just Pinterest worthy. So have fun with this, but just make sure you add in all of the components that I've listed. Also, something I'd like you to think about is when your students are in their seats, they will need some space. So as you're imagining the space of where your desks will be, imagine now the chairs pushed back, and you'll need to make sure you have plenty of walk space behind the chairs once the bodies are in the chairs. So think about that as you're considering the configuration of your desks. Do you want cooperative learning groups where they are in clusters? Do you want a U shape, or maybe something neat that one of your teachers did that you think would be effective that you'd like to try? However you'd like to design your classroom, that's up to you. You get to decide what you think is developmentally appropriate for your students and how you would like that to look. So have fun with that part. The next few pieces to your notebook are just to help you out. So your mentor list, this is where you will put down names of professors that you would want to go turn to for advice once you're teaching, or any teachers that you've met along the way, maybe where you've done some kind of a practicum, or your internship teacher, for example, would be great. The teachers that you interviewed for the interview project would be great to have on this list, or administrators, anything like that, anyone like that who would be a good resource for you someday if you are ever in a situation where you're like, boy, my new school is doing this thing that this particular teacher is doing. I'm going to call her, him, and ask how that works, or ask a few questions. Maybe you need a job recommendation. Maybe you need to get in touch just to troubleshoot. How do you like this new program? We're thinking about adopting this particular reading series. How are you liking it at your school? It's wonderful having mentors. Next, and this part's already completed. This is where you will just copy off all of your power practice activities. You know the power of having some strategies like meaningful praise. It's one of those great strategies that you might forget to use if you don't have it somewhere to remind you. So having a section in your book for your power practice activities so you can remind yourself how it works, and maybe you just have a spot during your school year where you just need something new to try. You can go back to these and revisit how it worked for you, and then implement this in your classroom and try it out. So collect those for yourself. Also, a resource list. This is just where you can start adding anything to do with classroom management that's helpful. Maybe it's the title of a book that you want to read. Maybe it's a website that you really liked where you found a lot of great resources. Maybe it's some video links of something you like about a classroom that's happening with the way they set up the classroom, or they set up a station, or whatever it is. You can archive that and keep it all together so you can go back to it someday and have that to help you out. So how many resources here? Just as many as you can. If you feel like you don't have very many, then that will be good for you to know, I need to really start collecting these as I go. And of course, it's important to proofread what you turn in, especially a letter that's going out to parents or students. If you are not someone who is very good with grammar, have a friend proofread for you, someone who is good at that, or you can go to the writing center. But know that about yourself if that's not your thing, and have some help with that. Some extras you can put in if you would like. It might be fun for you to take your notebook and create a table of contents so you can easily thumb through. And then that leads me to the next suggestion, which is dividers for each of the sections. And your teacher administrator interview would be helpful to put in here too, because it's packed full of good advice from vetted teachers who have been there, done that, and you can get some wonderful ideas there. And any articles or readings that resonate with you that you'd like to hang on to, you could add there too. Also, you might have some other resources from this class, like the Where to Begin when you're first hired, sheet that you had from earlier this semester, or possibly you'd like to add in some photos of projects or bulletin boards that you created so you'll remember how you did that and what to do and have that memory as well. Um, just be careful if you have students in your photos, you'll have to have permission first before you can have a picture that leaves the classroom. So if it's your social media or this notebook, any kind of way that you would use any kind of picture of a student, you'll have to have permission for that. Now, the only way around that is if you want to show students, you could use the back of their head and just kind of the top of their head. So there's absolutely no way you could identify the students, and maybe it's you teaching and there are all these little heads. That could be a way to showcase that you're working with students. Unless you happen to have a class where all of the parents have signed the permission slip to allow the pictures to be used outside of class. I would recommend having a permission slip of your own for that too, because this is a liability and we want to keep everyone on the straight and narrow. If you happen to complete a professional language word list from developmentally appropriate curriculum, that would be a great resource to put into your notebook as well, and any lesson plans you've created. Boy, that was a lot, but I hope that you feel that you've collected some good ideas for your notebook. I hope that you are looking forward to this, and I want to welcome you to email me with any questions that you have along the way. Don't wait until you turn it in and wonder, oh, how's she going to grade on this, or what's she going to think? Is this going to work or not work? Ask me. I would love to answer your questions. I want you to get an excellent grade on this. I want you to feel confident. I want you to be clear. So we can Zoom, we can talk through email. I would love to talk with you. So, and thank you for those of you who have reached out to me with questions. I really love connecting with you. Well, have fun with this project, and thank you for your great attention with this video.